Somewhere buried in history, engineers built bulldozers so insane, one weighed over 1 million pounds, another could swim, one was so massive it had its own zip code on job sites, and one was literally designed to survive a nuclear blast. These aren't CGI, these aren't concepts. Every single machine you're about to see actually existed, and the stories behind them are even wilder than the machines themselves. Number 10. The Letourneau TC497 Tournepool, 1960s. Let's kick things off with a machine that barely even looks like it belongs on planet Earth. The Letourneau TC497 was not just a bulldozer, it was an entire earth-moving system on wheels. Built by R.G. Letourneau Inc. in the 1960s, this behemoth was powered by 4 diesel engines producing a combined 4,400 horsepower. To put that in perspective, a modern sports car produces maybe 500 horsepower. This thing had nearly 9 times that. The TC497 was part of a family of electric drive scrapers and earth movers that Letourneau designed specifically to revolutionize large-scale earth moving. The machine operated using a diesel-electric drivetrain. The diesel engines generated electricity which then powered electric wheel motors. This system gave it extraordinary torque and control, which was critical when you're moving that much iron across rough terrain. What made this machine truly bizarre was its sheer size and the way it moved. Each individual wheel was the height of a grown man. The operator sat in a cab perched so high off the ground that climbing up to it felt like ascending a building. Workers on job sites reportedly had to use ladders just to perform routine maintenance on the upper components. The TC497 and its variants were used extensively in large construction projects across North America and played a significant role in highway construction projects during the interstate highway era. Letourneau's diesel-electric concept was so ahead of its time that modern ultra-class mining trucks still use the exact same drivetrain principle today, more than half a century later. R.G. Letourneau himself was a fascinating figure, a devout Christian who reportedly donated 90% of his income to religious causes while simultaneously building some of the most powerful earth-moving machines the world had ever seen. The man genuinely believed he was doing God's work by moving earth. Number 9. The Komatsu D575A Super Dozer, 1991. Now, when people talk about the biggest bulldozers ever built, one name always comes up, and it's this one. The Komatsu D575A Super Dozer holds the title of the largest production bulldozer ever manufactured. When it was introduced in 1991, it immediately shattered every record in the book. This machine weighs approximately 152 metric tons. That's about 336,000 pounds of pure steel and engineering. Its blade alone is 7.4 meters wide and 3.29 meters tall. Stand next to that blade, and you'd look like a small child standing in front of a 2-story wall. The D575A is powered by a Komatsu SA12V170 engine, producing 1,150 horsepower. That's more power than most racing boats. It can push approximately 90 cubic meters of material in a single pass. Imagine filling nearly 40 standard pickup trucks in one shove, and you start to get the picture. But here's what makes the D575A truly extraordinary beyond its raw numbers. It was built in direct response to the demands of Australian coal mining operations. The mines down under needed something that could strip overburden the rock and earth covering coal seams at a rate that smaller dozers simply couldn't achieve. Komatsu answered the call with something that looked less like a bulldozer and more like a moving building. The machine operates on elevated sprocket undercarriage systems, which means the drive sprockets sit up high, away from the abrasive ground material. This dramatically extends track life, which is critical when you're talking about a machine this size, where track replacement is an enormous logistical and financial undertaking. Today, the D575A-3SD is the latest iteration, and it continues to work in mining operations primarily in Australia and North America. If you ever get the chance to stand next to one of these in person, do it, because photographs simply do not communicate how truly enormous this machine is. Number 8. The Allis-Chalmers HD41 1960s. In the mid-20th century, Allis-Chalmers was a name synonymous with agricultural and industrial power in America. But their HD41 bulldozer was something else entirely. It was the largest crawler tractor produced in the United States during its era. The HD41 was introduced in the 1960s and was powered by a massive diesel engine producing around 524 horsepower. For context, in the 1960s, that figure was absolutely staggering for a land-based construction machine. The machine weighed approximately 95,000 pounds, nearly 43 metric tons. What made the HD41 so remarkable wasn't just its power, it was the engineering pedigree behind it. Allis-Chalmers built this machine for the most demanding applications in existence at the time: pipeline laying, land clearing, and massive earth moving on dam and reservoir construction projects. These were the kinds of jobs where smaller machines would either fail outright or take 3 times as long to complete. The HD41 used a planetary power shift transmission, which was an advanced feature for its time. This system allowed operators to shift gears without stopping or using a clutch in the traditional sense, making the machine far easier to operate efficiently across long working days. One of the most interesting aspects of the HD41's legacy is its role in Cold War-era infrastructure development. During the 1960s and 1970s, machines like the HD41 were the backbone of the massive infrastructure build-out happening across the United States: dams, highways, airports, and they represented American industrial confidence at its absolute peak. Allis-Chalmers eventually exited the construction equipment market, and the company's agricultural division was acquired by AGCO. But the HD41 remains a celebrated machine among classic dozer enthusiasts, with surviving examples commanding serious attention at equipment auctions and shows. Number 7. The Letourneau Electric Digger. 1950s, R.G. Letourneau appears on this list twice, and that's because the man was genuinely decades ahead of his time. In the 1950s, Letourneau developed a series of massive electric drive machines, including enormous cable-operated scrapers and pushers. But perhaps his most bizarre creation was the electric digger series, machines that used electric motors powered by onboard diesel generators to drive tracks and implements, eliminating the complex mechanical power transmission systems that other manufacturers relied on. The concept sounds simple today because diesel-electric drive is now standard in mining trucks. But in the 1950s, the engineering challenges involved in making this work reliably on rough terrain, in dust, heat, rain, and mud, were extraordinary. Letourneau's solution was to put an electric motor inside each wheel or sprocket, essentially making every drive point independently powered and controlled. This gave his machines capabilities that were genuinely unique. You could feather power to individual tracks and wheels in ways that conventional mechanical systems simply couldn't match. On soft or uneven ground, this translated into dramatically better traction and control. Letourneau built these machines at his facility in Longview, Texas, and also established manufacturing operations in Vicksburg, Mississippi. His company's work during World War II, building portable steel causeways and military equipment, had given him both the manufacturing capacity and the engineering talent to pursue these ambitious post-war projects. The machines were used in land-clearing projects across the American South, where huge tracts of forested land were being converted to agricultural use. Some of these electric drive dozers pushed over trees that would have stopped conventional machines in their tracks. Number 6. The Caterpillar D9 with Rome KG blade. 1950s-1960s. The Caterpillar D9 is already a legendary machine. Introduced in 1955, it became one of the most important bulldozers in history and remains in production in evolved form to this day. But this entry isn't about the standard D9. It's about what happened when someone attached a Rome KG blade to it. The Rome KG blade was a specialized tree-cutting attachment designed for land-clearing operations. Rather than simply pushing trees over and dragging them, the KG blade was engineered to cut through root systems and stumps at ground level, essentially shearing trees off cleanly and allowing them to be pushed aside in massive windrows. The combination of the D9's raw power, its original 320 horsepower engine was massive for 1955, and the KG blade's cutting ability created a land-clearing machine of almost ridiculous efficiency. Operators reported that a D9 with a Rome KG blade could clear dense forest at rates that would have been unimaginable with earlier equipment. This combination was used extensively in the American South during the massive agricultural land conversion programs of the 1950s and 1960s, and also saw military service in Vietnam, where the U.S. Army used D9s for various combat engineering tasks, including clearing vegetation around fire bases and building airstrips. The D9 itself became iconic in a military context. The Israeli Defense Forces have used heavily armored versions of the D9 fitted with steel plating to protect against small arms fire and RPGs for combat engineering operations, and those machines remain in service today, making the D9 lineage one of the longest continuously militarily relevant bulldozer families in history. Number 5. The International Harvester TD25. 1960s. International Harvester may be better known today for trucks and tractors, but for decades they were a serious player in the crawler tractor and bulldozer market, and the TD25 was their most powerful statement. Introduced in the 1960s, the TD25 was IH's answer to the demands of the mining and heavy construction industries. It was powered by a turbocharged diesel engine producing around 270 horsepower, which placed it in the upper tier of bulldozers available at the time. The machine weighed approximately 70,000 pounds in full dozing configuration. What distinguished the TD25 was its torque converter and power shift transmission system, which IH called the power shift, a system that gave operators smooth, efficient power delivery without the clutch and gear operations that older machines required. This might sound like a minor technical detail, but in practice it dramatically reduced operator fatigue and improved productivity on long shifts. International Harvester's construction equipment division went through turbulent times in the 1980s. Financial difficulties forced IH to sell its construction equipment business to Dresser Industries in 1982, and the resulting company, Dresser Industries Construction Equipment Division, eventually merged with Komatsu's North American operations to form Komatsu Dresser Company. So in a roundabout way, the engineering DNA of International Harvester's classic dozers lives on in modern Komatsu machines. The TD25 is today a collectible machine, with restoration enthusiasts across North America working to preserve surviving examples of what was once one of America's most capable bulldozers. Number 4. The Soviet K700 Kirovets, dozer variants, 1960s-1970s. The Cold War produced some extraordinary engineering on both sides of the Iron Curtain, and Soviet heavy equipment was no exception. The Kirovets K700, introduced in 1962 at the Kirov plant in Leningrad, now St. Petersburg, was primarily an agricultural tractor, but various dozer and earth-moving versions were developed for construction and mining applications. What made the K700 bizarre by Western standards was its articulated frame design on a machine of this size and power. The K700 used an articulated steering system where the front and rear halves of the machine were connected by a pivot joint. To steer, hydraulic cylinders bent the machine in the middle. This gave it exceptional maneuverability for its size, but also gave it a deeply unsettling appearance in motion. Watching a machine this large bend itself in the middle to change direction is something that takes a moment to process visually. The K700 was powered by a Yams 238 diesel engine producing 220 horsepower, and its dozer variants were equipped with substantial blade arrangements for earth-moving work. The Soviet construction industry used these machines extensively across the vast Siberian development projects of the 1960s and 1970s, building roads, pipelines, and infrastructure across terrain and in temperatures that would challenge any equipment. The Kirovets family continued to evolve, and the Kirov plant still produces tractors today, making it one of the longest continuously operating heavy equipment manufacturers in the world. The K700 specifically remains a cult classic in Russia and Eastern Europe, with enthusiastic communities of collectors and restorers keeping these machines alive. Number 3. The Caterpillar D8 in World War II 1940s. Before we talk about anything else here, let's acknowledge something. The Caterpillar D8 helped win World War II. That's not hyperbole. Military historians have documented the crucial role that construction equipment, particularly the D8, played in enabling Allied operations across multiple theaters. The D8 was introduced commercially in 1935, and the US military recognized immediately that it was exactly what they needed for combat engineering. Throughout World War II, military engineers used D8s to build airstrips, roads, bridges, and fortifications at a pace that would have been impossible with earlier equipment or purely manual labor. In the Pacific Theater, Seabees, the U.S. Navy's construction battalions, used D8s to carve airstrips out of Pacific Island jungles, often under enemy fire. There are documented accounts of Seabee operators continuing to work on airstrip construction while Japanese forces were still contesting the area. These men, operating D8s and other heavy equipment, made it possible for Allied aircraft to operate from newly captured islands days or weeks before Japanese counterattacks could be organized. In North Africa, EDs were used to build roads across terrain that had previously been considered impassable to wheeled supply vehicles. This had direct strategic consequences. Faster supply movement enabled faster offensive operations. General Douglas MacArthur reportedly stated that the bulldozer was one of the most important pieces of equipment in the Pacific Campaign. The D8 was the most powerful bulldozer widely available to Allied forces during the war, and its contribution to Allied victory is genuinely difficult to overstate. The D8 remains in production today, nearly 90 years after its introduction, though today's D8T is an entirely modern machine, sharing only its lineage and designation with those wartime bulldozers. Number 2. The Letourneau Tree Crusher, 1960s. If the title alone doesn't get you, the machine itself certainly will. In the 1960s, R.G. Letourneau, yes, him again, developed what can only be described as one of the most visually terrifying land-clearing machines ever built. The Letourneau Tree Crusher, also known as the Tourneau Tree Crusher, was essentially a massive rolling drum on an equally massive frame pushed by or connected to enormous diesel-electric drive units. The concept was straightforward but executed at an almost unimaginable scale. Instead of cutting trees or pushing them over with a blade, the tree crusher simply rolled over them. The drum, which was enormous, measuring multiple meters in diameter, would crush everything in its path flat. Trees, stumps, undergrowth, everything was simply flattened under the weight and momentum of this machine. The tree crusher was used in land-clearing operations in Texas and across the American South, as well as in various international projects. It was particularly effective in scrubland environments where the density of vegetation would have made blade clearing impractically slow. Watching footage of the tree crusher in operation, and some black and white film of it does exist, is genuinely unsettling. Mature trees simply disappear under it, crushed flat as if they were made of paper. The machine moves with the inexorable, unstoppable quality of something geological rather than mechanical. This machine represented Letourneau's philosophy, taken to its logical extreme. When faced with an obstacle, don't work around it, don't cut through it. Just build something big enough to make it irrelevant. Number 1. Marvin Heemeyer, Killdozer, 2004. And here we are at number 1, not the biggest bulldozer ever built, not the most powerful, but without question one of the most infamous. In 2004, a man named Marvin Heemeyer transformed a standard Komatsu D575A into something the world had never seen before, a homemade armored bulldozer that would later be known as the Killdozer. Originally, the Komatsu D575A was a heavy crawler dozer weighing roughly 49 tons, a serious earth-moving machine designed for mining and large construction projects. But Heemeyer, a skilled welder and muffler shop owner in Granby, Colorado, spent months secretly modifying it inside his workshop. He didn't just add steel plates. He built a layered armor shell made of steel and concrete, sandwiching thick plates with poured concrete between them. The cab was completely sealed. Bulletproof viewing ports were fitted with cameras on the outside, feeding live video to monitors inside. Air systems were installed to keep dust and debris out. The machine was designed so that once he climbed inside and lowered the armored shell into place, there was no easy exit. On June 4, 2004, in the small town of Granby, Colorado, Heemeyer drove the modified dozer through multiple buildings, including the town hall, a newspaper office, and other structures he believed had wronged him during a zoning dispute. Law enforcement responded quickly, but they were effectively powerless to stop it. Small arms fire had no effect on the armor. Explosives were considered, but deemed too dangerous in a populated area. The bulldozer's massive blade and reinforced shell allowed it to plow through concrete walls like drywall. The rampage lasted about 2 hours. Ultimately, the machine became stuck after partially collapsing into a basement. When authorities finally breached the armor, they found that Heemeyer had taken his own life inside the cab. From an engineering standpoint, the machine itself was chillingly effective. The D355A's original diesel engine provided immense torque. Combined with extreme added armor, it became a slow-moving but unstoppable force against civilian structures. It was not military. It was not experimental. It was not government-designed. It was one man with welding equipment, mechanical knowledge, and time. What makes this story so disturbing isn't just the destruction, it's the demonstration of how powerful heavy equipment can become when modified outside its intended purpose. The base machine was designed to move Earth. In the wrong context, it became a battering ram capable of overwhelming law enforcement resources in a small town. Unlike the other machines on this list, which were built to solve industrial, military, or infrastructure challenges, this one represents a darker side of mechanical capability. It's a reminder that raw power is neutral. It depends entirely on who's behind the controls. From forest crushers to atomic test survivors to the largest production dozer ever built, and finally to a machine that became infamous for entirely different reasons. The history of bulldozers proves one thing: these aren't just machines. In the right or wrong circumstances, they can change history. From machines that crushed entire forests flat to bulldozers designed to survive nuclear war. These incredible pieces of engineering remind us that the history of heavy equipment is far stranger and far more fascinating than most people ever realize. Every one of these machines was built by real engineers solving real problems, sometimes problems that were themselves almost unimaginably extreme. If you found any of these machines as mind-blowing as I did researching this video, drop a comment below telling me which one shocked you the most. And if you want more deep dives into history's most extraordinary machines, make sure you're subscribed because there's a lot more where this came from.